Good afternoon, my fellow humans. I have not been on YouTube in a long time. A lot has been going on. Not necessarily bad things, but this summer's been kind of busy, and I had a lot to think about and talk about. And I got to support some of my relatives. They were doing something exciting in their lives, and I was glad to support them for that. But anyways, I want to get to the subject, and I want to talk about what's really going on in this country, United States. And here I am, living here in one of the southern states in the Bible Belt. And originally, I was not born in the Bible Belt. I was born more up north. To be exact, I was born in Wisconsin, a northern state. And there's plenty of religion up there. There's plenty of Christianity up north and all over the place. But down here in the South, sometimes it seems like when you're out in public, it seems like churches out in public, So that's the Bible Belt. So here I am living in the Bible Belt. I'm not going to always live here. But anyways, let me get to the point. When I was a kid growing up in Christianity, and my parents were pastors, and I was going to church every Sunday, and sometimes Wednesday Bible study. Sometimes I would go to morning service and evening service. My parents were really into the church thing, and I was a church kid, born into it. My mom was going to church when she was pregnant with me. And I was in church as a small child and as a toddler, and very much familiar with the church lifestyle, very much familiar with it. But I was born into evangelical, non-denominational Christianity. And then we went on to fundamentalist Christianity, a more stricter Baptist fundamentalist group that my family had gotten involved with. And then they went back to non-denominational Christianity, but it was still evangelical Christianity. But anyways, back then, people were saying, the Christian adults around me, they were saying that the world is influenced by the devil, and that the secular people have more power, and it's up to us Christians to fight the good fight of faith, and it's our job to spread Christianity, and we might get persecuted, but we need to persevere. Sorry, I said it wrong, but we need to press forward and be strong for the Lord, And Christians, a lot of Christians were saying that Christians were being persecuted. The adults in my family made it seem like Christians were being persecuted. But today, a lot of crazy Christians are in charge now and are running things. So if Christians are saying that they're being persecuted today, no, they're not. They are running things in the United States. They're running things. And the reason why I want to make this video is because the crazy Christians, some of them, the crazy politicians who are Christians, they are able to try to put some Christian influence inside the public school. Oops, a dragonfly just drove by. Anyways, back to the point. Some crazy Christians are trying to make public school church. They're trying to do that. They're trying to put Bible study in these public schools. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. I'm totally against it. And I'm going to tell you why. I am going to explain myself why I think that's wrong. I believe that's wrong because Christians need to protect themselves from other Christians. Now you may think, what are you talking about? Okay, look. There's some Christian denominations who think other denominations are wrong. For example, when I was hanging out with the people who were Baptists, the fundamentalist Baptists, they claimed that their religion was right and that everybody else is wrong. They said the Lutherans were wrong, the Methodists was wrong, the non-denominationals were wrong. They would claim that their Christianity was the only right Christianity. And the fundamentalist Baptist Christians, they believe that women should dress a certain way, and they wanted to push those ideas on the people who are a part of their group. And that's crazy. They would say, yeah, we're right. We're the only true Christians. Everybody else is wrong. And some of them would say that they didn't even believe that the Lutherans were Christians. They claimed that the Catholics are not even Christians. But yes, the Catholics are Christian. It's just that I was with a bunch of ignorant Baptist people. Now, you may know some Baptist people who are very smart and who are not ignorant like that. But I was with some arrogant Baptist people who thought that their Christianity was the only correct Christianity. So if people try to put Christianity in public school, and if you have some kid who was taught that their branch of Christianity is the only correct Christianity, they might accidentally, or they might try to hurt another kid's feelings for being a Lutheran, for being Methodist, for being Catholic, for being Hindu. That's outside of Christianity, but there's no need to hurt the Hindu child's feelings. So I really think that if people, especially in the Bible Belt, if they want their child to know about scripture and the Bible, can you just take your child to church, to your church? Can you take them to your church? That's what the church is for. We don't need to turn public school into church, where kids of different cultural backgrounds are getting together, and we don't need these kids arguing about which religion is correct. We don't need that happening in public school. We need kids to concentrate on their math, their science, their spelling, things like that. Those subjects, they need to work on their school subjects, and they need to get prepared for college, especially these high school kids. But high school kids should not be going to public school arguing about the interpretation of the Bible. They shouldn't be arguing about the women's place. I had to mention women's place because when I grew up in Christianity, I first went to Black Christian churches. That's where I first went to church, with the Black Christians. And the Black Christian boys, they had learned from the Bible and from their pastor that men were more important and more special than women and girls. So the boys would look down on us girls and say, hey, since Eve sinned, you guys are less than, and women need to submit to men, and they were happy about their status. But these are, Black Christian boys. Now, I'm making a point on that because, as some of us know, Black boys and Black men, some of them sometimes get discriminated. They experience discrimination in this country, and they hate to be discriminated against. They especially hate when the police discriminates against them. They hate that. But they want to turn around and put down the woman and say, women, you guys are second status people because the Bible supports that belief. Now, you may be saying, no, the Bible doesn't say anything about women being second status people. Yes, it does. In the Old Testament, in the New Testament. Now, I'm going to mention the New Testament first. So, just to let you know, I'm not lying, but in Corinthians chapter 14, verse 34 through 35, it talks about women being silent in church. It says women should be silent, and if a woman wants to learn, she needs to ask her husband. So I talked to my mom about this, and I was like, Mom, every woman don't have a husband. So does that mean she doesn't get to learn? And what's up with this woman need to be quiet in church because it's the law? This is what Paul wrote in the New Testament. And my mom was like, oh, her excuse was, well, women back then, I guess there were some women interrupting the church service, and so Paul wanted the women to be quiet. But that's not what Paul was talking about. Paul was saying women in all churches need to shut up and be quiet because it's not proper for a woman to speak in church. And some interpretations say that it is a shame for a woman to speak in church, and so those verses bothered me. And also Timothy 2:9, it speaks against women. Also 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 3 through 4, speaks against women. And I'm like, that always bothered me. That bothered me so bad. And I could never accept the fact that women were second status people. But anyways, yeah, like I said, the black men have experienced discrimination, but they don't want anybody to discriminate against them. And so the other thing is that that these black men and these black boys at my church, what they needed to realize is that they could never do what the white men did to the white women a long time ago. I'm talking about the laws that the white man made a long time ago and during the 1920s about women not having the right to vote. And they finally gained their right to vote. And so they had the law to turn women into second status people. But back then, and also even today, the African American man does not have the power as a group to make laws against women like the white man did. So I'm just saying. So there is no point in them being arrogant like that, But I'm moving on. The other reason why I want to talk about this, because at my daughter's public school, she's going to high school, and at her high school, for the first time, they're trying to allow Bible study to take place at her high school, at her Bible study. And that's not good. That's terrible, because I do believe in a separation between church and state, and I don't believe in somebody's favorite religion rising above other people's religion. There shouldn't be a favorite religion, because when Christianity takes over, it's not going to be your branch of Christianity. It's going to be somebody else's branch of Christianity. For example, if you believe in the Trinity and a group of Christians don't believe in the Trinity and they want to argue with you about that, that kind of conversation should not happen in public school. People should not talk about that at public school. It's not good to argue about the Trinity, or if there's not the Trinity in school. You need to focus on your school subjects. Arguing about the woman's place, arguing about the interpretation of scripture, arguing about how women should dress, and people giving their opinion on what's modest and what's not immodest. Like in some other cultures, in a whole different culture, especially the Muslim culture in Afghanistan, they will say, I'm immodest right now. I'm showing my neck, I'm showing my earrings, I'm showing my arms. And they may say, you're immodest, but according to American Standard Christianity, I'm all right. Got my shirt on, whatever. And then there's some Christians who don't believe in wearing short sleeve shirts, that a woman should always wear long sleeve shirts no matter how hot it is. Yeah, I met those kind of Christians. But they should not try to force their beliefs on somebody else. And I also met some other crazy Christians who believe in not celebrating Christmas. And they tried to make a different Christian who did celebrate Christmas feel bad about herself. That's ridiculous. Nobody needs to feel bad whether they celebrate Christmas or not. Some Christians are against Christmas because they said it's too commercialized, it's too focused on gifts, it's too focused on material things. A person can become materialistic if they focus on Christmas and Christmas shopping, and some people overspend on Christmas, therefore Christmas is bad. That's what some people think. But I believe that it's okay to have fun on Christmas. If you want to have a nice dinner with your family, and you want to give gifts with your family and your friends, and you want to put a smile on your loved one's face with Christmas gifts and with Christmas decorations, I think that's okay. But my point is, nobody should be talking about that in public school. And nobody should be saying, since your Christianity is different from mine, then you're against me. And it should not be happening, But Christianity and religion in general, it's very divisive. A lot of people are better off not talking about it with their peers. And that's including the high school kids who grew up in different denominations. They shouldn't talk about it among their peers. They should be talking about other things. They should talk about anything besides religion, because religion is very divisive. Okay, there are some Christians, kids who believe in women pastors. There are some Christians who don't believe in women pastors. And some of you know about Joyce Myers. She's a woman pastor, and she has a lot of influence and power, and she makes a lot of money through Christianity. And some people will say, hey, she's being unbiblical. But there are some Christian people who say she's being useful because she's a woman and she can help draw more women into Christianity, therefore she's useful. But the Bible is very anti-woman. I just shared with you 3 different New Testament verses that speak against women. And it's very anti-woman. But some people think that women pastors can help draw women into Christianity. It's really goofy. Some of you know about Paula White. There's this woman. She's working for President Donald Trump in the White House, and she's a woman pastor, and she has strong influence. Remember that woman who was speaking in tongues, and it was funny, and it was all over YouTube. It went viral, hilarious. And so she gets to be a woman pastor, but some religious people are saying, well, she's a useful tool. She's a useful tool to draw women into Christianity. But Christianity, even though Christianity have some powerful women pastor, Christianity is still very patriarchal. It's still very man-ruled. The Bible is very pro-man. The Bible's not really for women. Women can read it. I have the Bible. I read it. But I'm an atheist. I don't believe in the Bible because I believe a bunch of immature men wrote the Bible, and they were a product of their time. So since they looked down on women, and since that was a part of their culture, they made their God also look down on women because he was a part of their culture. And the modern day people should not take the Bible seriously because the Bible is out of date, and there is no proof that the God of the Bible is real. There's no proof. There's no proof of it. I used to believe in it. I don't anymore. But there's no proof. But anyways, I don't think kids should be arguing about that because they may believe that their pastor and the denomination of their parents is correct, and they may want to argue with another kid who believes their denomination and their pastor and their parents are correct, and it could be a religious clash in the public school, and that's not good. That will not be good. There are some Christians who are okay with the LGBTQ community. There are some Christians who are not okay with the LGBTQ community. And speaking about gay rights, Lindsey Graham, he recently died. Well, there was a man who said that Lindsey Graham was his client, and he showed the text messages on his phone. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. Lindsey Graham was a hypocrite. He spoke against gay people. He spoke against gay rights. He spoke against transsexual people, but he secretly liked transsexual people. He was with a transvestite. He hired one to spend time with one. He liked gay men. That's what he liked. That's what he preferred. And it's okay that he preferred those men, but he was being a hypocrite. That's the part I don't like. He was being a hypocrite, he was trying to make other gay people feel bad. He was trying to make laws against other gay people while he himself was secretly gay. So I'm okay with him loving other gay men, but I'm not okay with him being a hypocrite. I am not okay with him being a hypocrite. Hypocrisy is a big problem within Christianity. I know that because I have been a Christian for 29 years, and during my 29 years of being a Christian, I have met so many hypocrites. So many hypocrites. And as an atheist, I can be my true self and be honest. I have nothing to hide. I'm just being myself. I'm just trying to be a good person. I'm putting effort into being a good person. I read self-improvement books. I read books about how not to be an asshole. I'm trying to be a good person. But so many of the Christians I know are hypocrites. And many Christians need to admit that they are just like everybody else. They are just like everybody else. They're not extra special. They do not have the moral high ground. So many Christians are not paying attention to the Bible. So many Christians have not read the whole Bible from cover to cover. I did. I know what's in the Bible. I know what's in there. And I believe that so much of the Bible has been made up. Like Jesus walking on water. I believe that was made up. Because it doesn't match with my reality of life. I don't believe that people can walk on water. Like walk across a pond, walk across an ocean, walk across a lake. I don't think people can do that based on my reality. I don't believe in the virgin birth. Can a virgin give birth to a baby? Back then, no. Back in the ancient days, no. They didn't have the technology that they have now. So I believe that story was made up, the virgin birth story. I think that story came from other ancient gods that predate Jesus. It's just, Christians here need protection from other Christians. There's so many different types of Christians. And to turn to turn public school into your church, that's a big problem, and it's not going to work, especially when these kids are coming from so many different Christian denominations. All that's going to do is invite an argument amongst people who have different thoughts about Christianity. But yeah, I'm totally against turning public school into a church. It really shouldn't happen. It's a big problem. And I'm going to leave off on this. I have a question for the diehard Christians. If the only way to become a Christian and to accept salvation, if that's only through Jesus, how is a person able to get into heaven when before Jesus was even thought of? Because there was a time when Jesus was not born. There was a time when ancient people didn't have Jesus. There's other religions that predate Christianity. Hinduism, for example. Hinduism is older than Christianity. So how were people able to get into heaven before Jesus was even a thought? That's something that I thought about when I was a Christian. So I want to put it out there. But yes, I do believe that Christianity was made up. People need to present evidence for the claims that are in the Bible. Some Christians might say, well, we have faith. Faith fixes everything. Faith is believing in the unseen. But that's what people say when they don't have proof. You need proof. You really need proof. You need evidence. I think your religion is fake. I think all religions are made up. I think Islam is made up. I think Christianity is made up. I think Hinduism is made up. I think the Buddhists, I think a group of men came up with that religion and made it up. But the biggest religion in America is Christianity. We have mostly Christians here. Now, we're supposed to be a secular nation. Other religions are not supposed to take over another religion. It's supposed to be a secular nation. Please look up the Treaty of Tripoli. When it says that America is not a Christian nation, please look up the Treaty of Tripoli so that you can find out that America was originally not a Christian nation. They wanted it to be a secular government so people of many different religions can live here safely, so that different people can go to the church of their choice, or the mosque of their choice, or the temple of their choice. And people should have the right to not be a part of religion at all. Like me, it's Sunday, and I did not go to church today because I'm tired of patriarchy that's happening in so many Christian churches. I'm tired of the racism that's happening in so many Christian churches. And since I don't like that stuff, I have every right not to go to church. I'm choosing to disengage. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to sit in church, and I don't want to listen to lies. But if church makes you happy, if you have a good church, if it makes you happy, go to it, enjoy yourself. Even if I was in charge over this country, if I was in charge of over this country, I will allow everybody to go to the church of their choice and to do whatever they want in their church. But I will not allow religious people to take over the public schools, because the public schools are for the public, and we should not turn public schools into church. Please do not turn my child's public school into your church. Please don't do that. All right, that's all I have for you today, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye.